Hello and welcome to an India Today special broadcast. I'm Gaurav Sawant. Our top focus on this special broadcast is the operation at Anantnag. The anti-terror operation in Anantnag has been on for 6 days and counting. It's been a very, very challenging operation. We are told at least one terrorist body has been seen / recovered. There are other terrorists in the locality. This was a hideout in a very difficult area, and these are images of that difficult terrain in Anantnag in South Kashmir, where this encounter has been on. And unfortunately, the Indian Army lost the commanding officer of the 19th Battalion of Rashtriya Rifles and the company commander of that area, along with the Deputy Superintendent of Police, Humayun Bhatt. So we've had 3 officer fatalities in the police and the army. 1 soldier lost his life, and this is a very, very challenging operation. I quickly want to cut across and bring into this conversation Lieutenant General J.S. Dhillon, a former Kashmir Corps commander, someone who's operated in this area extensively, and someone, incidentally, who was commanding the Kashmir Corps at a very difficult phase when the Pulwama terror strike took place, when Balakot operations had taken place, and when Article 370 was defanged on the 5th of August in 2019. We were told, General Dhillon, welcome on India Today. We were told post 2019 that the Indian Armed Forces and India had a very decisive edge over terror in Jammu and Kashmir, and yet we see this operation that's been on for 6 days, where we've lost a CO, a company commander, a DSP, a Jawan, and the operation is still on. What makes this operation so challenging, sir?
Thank you, Gaurav, and good day to all your viewers. As you yourself brought out in the preamble, on 5th of August 2019, when 370 was abrogated, ever since 5th of August 2019 to date, 618 terrorists have been killed in Kashmir Valley alone. Now, this puts a lot of pressure on the terrorists, because earlier the terrorists used to stay in the hideouts inside the village. They used to take sustenance in terms of rations and cooked food from the village, and even spend their days in the open orchards around the populated areas. Ever since 5th of August 2019, the number of terrorist killings which have happened, and the way public is enjoying the fruits of peace, the way income is being generated, where the schools are open and children are getting educated in a better manner as compared to the previous years. As there is no stone pelting, there is a prosperity, there is a progress. Now the civilians, the public, Awam, do not want terrorists to be coming to their villages and disturbing this peace and progress. And hence, the information to the security forces from the civilians is coming in a big way. Now it's out of sheer self-preservation mode. The terrorists are moving away from the populated areas.
Sir, if we were to specifically talk about this current operation that's underway in the AOR, area of responsibility of 19 RR in Anantnag, was there precise intelligence, or there is some conversation that perhaps the officers were lured in, the Indian Army team was lured into some kind of an ambush zone by terrorists? Sir, you've operated in this area. What can you tell us about the current operation, sir?
Yeah, as I was saying, since they have been forced out of the populated areas, they have gone into the jungles and the higher reaches of mountains. Now Indian Army carries out something called seek and destroy operations, search and destroy operations. As earlier, the information used to come from the villages that they are going to come to the village, they are coming for food, or they are having a hideout in so-and-so house. So they were populated area-based operations. Now that they have moved away, now the Indian Army goes into the jungles to seek operations. Now, coming specifically to this operation, the question which you asked, it was an operation where end of a terrorist hideout in the higher reaches was coming for some time, and it was being corroborated by the Jammu Kashmir police and the Rashtriya Rifles. Once the information was confirmed, and commanding officer realizing it's a hard intelligence of a terrorist hideout deep inside the jungles, commanding officer himself decided to lead. Now, here I would like to clarify, it's not out of bravado or anything. Indian Army has an ethos of an officers leading. One is because they want to be physically seen there and commanders on ground. Since the officer has the maximum inputs prior to the start of operation, during the operation, the build-up of intelligence from the neighboring formation, other assets, or whatever you have tasked people. So he is the right person to take a decision on the spot. So it is the availability of intelligence and communication at all times with other neighboring formations and police, as also the ethos of Indian Army. So commanding officer decided to lead this operation. Coming to your specific question of intelligence vis-a-vis the hypothesis of an ambush. This team walked 8 hours in jungle. They could reach the pinpoint location of the hideout. Now, this wouldn't have been possible if the intelligence was not a hard intelligence. It is just unfortunately that probably when they reached the location, they decided to go about it in a particular manner, and they were probably synergizing and strategizing for the next operational move. When all the command elements, that is the CO, company commander, and the DYSP, were together at one place, they got spotted by the terrorist and they got hit. It is just one of those unfortunate events, a streak of bad luck for that particular day. Otherwise, this was a very well planned, hard intelligence operation, commanding officer leading, synergy with the Jammu Kashmir police. You reach the target area after 8 hours of climb and you pinpoint the target area.
Okay. Sir,
this
there was
incident of loss of lives is unfortunate, and
Yes,
it's
sir.
just one of those things which can happen in any such operations.
Sir, there was some information that seemed to indicate upon being hit, the DSP, Humayun Bhatt, was in conversation on a video call. And the information seems to indicate that they were pinned down. The terrorists had a vantage location. And when own troops went ahead to try and retrieve them, the terrorists opened fire, pinning down not just these injured soldiers, but also the remaining party that tried to mount an operation. Sir, my question is, would it have been better? Was it possible, or was it on ground that the army has drones to be a step ahead of these terrorists? If terrorists have a vantage position, could that vantage position have been taken down by ammunition or explosives fired from those drones?
Gaurav, without going into the operational details, which you and me are not aware, so I will not assume things. And the operational commander on ground has the situation in front of him. He is the best person to decide what course of action to take. Coming down specifically to your question of using drones instead of physically going there, as you are aware, the information when it comes from the human assets, when I say human assets, it means a normal civilian source who comes to you. He does not come with the lat long. As if I have to walk up to your or drive to your studio, you will send me a drop pin.
Yes.
That will be exact lat long of your office. I will drive and I'll reach your room where you are sitting. Whereas when the information from a civilian comes, he would come in a manner, just to give an example, साहब वहाँ नाला है, यहाँ से करीब 6-7 घंटे 8 घंटे का चढ़ाई है, वहाँ पे एक चश्मा है, चश्मे से 3-4-5 मिनट बाएं की तरफ को है, एक बड़ा पत्थर है, वहाँ पे पेड़ों का झुंड है, सुबह में धूप आती है, रात को शाम को धूप नहीं आती है, जब धूप आती ही नहीं है तो नाला उससे बाईं तरफ चढ़ाई है, दाहिनी तरफ उतराई है. This is how the information comes. So when you take that source along and you go to that location, that is when you pinpoint the objective area. Now that time you may be 20 meters away from the objective, you may be 70 meters away from the objective. Now it's a right question or right feeling by some citizens to ask why the technology was not used beforehand to pinpoint target. It is just that the lat longs of the location were not available because it's a human intelligence. If it was a technical intelligence or it was a drop pin, then the precision weaponry could have been used. But having said that, I think the commanders on ground, they are well aware of the type of objective profile, the target profile, and they are also they are aware of the assets which they have in terms of weapon platforms, and best suited weapon system or the surveillance system on the target profile must have been used, and they are always used. So I think, as per my intelligence, the best surveillance systems are in place. the best possible weapons. Like today, they're dropping drones, they're dropping grenades and explosives from drones, as per the information available on the open source.
So,
That means they have pinpointed the hideout. Drones can drop the grenade with 9 to 10 meters of danger area.
okay.
Any weapon system or explosive more than that probably will bring on troops who are surrounding that area also in the danger zone.
Fair
So
enough, sir.
I can't say with surety. I think the commanders on ground are the best people to judge the target profile, the weapon suitability, and employ it accordingly.
And especially at a time when the commanding officer himself was Sena Medal awarded for gallantry, the company commander was awarded Sena Medal for gallantry, knew the lay of the land like the back of their hand, as was the DSP, I believe, again, son of the soil. But sir, what I want to understand from you, for the benefit of our viewers, tell us more about, one, the terrain of this area, and two, the area per se, South Kashmir. Why had South Kashmir emerged as a hub of terror at a time when we were told that the situation is well and truly in control?
Gaurav, the area in which this operation is going on, the Kokarnag area, the Pir Panjal, the northern face. Pir Panjal is a mountain range, as you are aware, even if from this Kazigund,
Yes, sir.
if you have to go to the top of Pir Panjal Pass, by vehicle it used to take anything up to 45 minutes. Then if you have to walk up on those hills where there are no tracks, there are no roads, you are walking through the jungle, you are wading through the jungle into those areas. It took almost 8 hours for this team to reach the target area. So that is the type of difficult terrain. There are primary jungles, there are secondary jungles, there are tertiary jungles. Visibility at places is only 5 meters. There are places where sun rays do not come down. So that is the type of area we're talking about. There is line of sight visibility is not there. The tree cover, even if you have the aerial surveillance, you may not be able to pick up anything down below unless they have put up a hideout in an open ground, which unfortunately doesn't happen. Terrorists also know that Indian Army has the surveillance, aerial surveillance means. They would have dug the hideout or put a hideout in a place where they cannot be observed from air and they cannot be observed from ground unless they come very close. So these are the type of difficulties in those areas. Firstly, climbing those 8 hours, then commanding officer leading, you are reaching the objective area, you are reaching the precise location. You drew fire, that means it was the exact place where they wanted to go and they reached there. It is just unfortunate. It's just unfortunate that the first burst, because our troops are moving, terrorists are static, first burst is the most difficult burst in counter-terrorist operations.
Yes.
If you survive the first burst, then the terrorist is bound to die because we have the resources.
Sir,
Here, the first burst got the command elements. That is just unfortunate. It was not our day, and one feels very bad about it.
One indeed does, sir. You're absolutely right. And especially, who are we losing our braves to? They're not being killed in action in combat vis-a-vis a declared enemy. It is Pakistan that's fighting this war, through chaps like Uzair Khan and perhaps some Pakistani terrorists. Sir, is there evidence that Pakistan is involved in spreading terror in India even now, even today?
See, it's a truth which is known widely world over, and you can close your eyes to it. That's a separate issue. The government of India in the past has sent so many dossiers, and the terrorists getting killed on the line of control, Pakistani nationals getting killed inside Kashmir or Jammu and Kashmir and other parts of India, including the Mumbai terror attack. So Pakistan is the hub of terrorism. Pakistan is sponsoring terrorism. Pakistan is sending Pakistani nationals into Indian Kashmir to spread terror, to kill innocent Kashmiris. This is what Pakistan is all about, and there is no doubt in anyone's mind. The whole world leadership knows about it. It is just that it's a matter of time and Pakistan is called out by everyone.
So very recently in Uri, I believe Pakistan Army opened fire to stop the Indian Army from retrieving the terrorists who've been killed. Apparently 3 terrorists had been killed. Does this not directly show Pakistan Army's complicity in terror in North Kashmir, for example, in Uri, at the Uri border, sir, LOC, sir?
It's not the first time. The modus operandi is the terrorists from the training camps come to something called the launch pads. Launch pads are within about 500 meters to 1 kilometer of the line of control. And mostly the launch pads are within the Pakistan Army posts. Terrorists stay in those launch pads for about 1 day or 2 days, do the recce from where they intend to infiltrate, the route where they want to infiltrate. And before the ceasefire agreement, Pakistan Army post would open fire on Indian post so that we do not see the terrorists infiltrating. They used to make sure, they used to even guide the terrorists right up to the line of control and then go back. In this particular case, which you are talking about, Hatlanga, Nala, and Uri, the last 2 days,
Sure.
the 3 terrorists who have pinned down, the killed, the one terrorist ran back into the Pakistani army post on the line of control. And Pakistan army, in utter violation of the ceasefire agreement, fired onto Indian posts and Indian troops to give covering fire to this fleeing terrorist who was running back to the post, probably from where he had come. So Pakistan army has violated the ceasefire agreement, and this is the clear case where they are giving the covering fire to the terrorists to infiltrate into Indian side.
So why can't such a post be taken down? In the past, there have been instances, the Pakistani post that would give cover fire to terrorists, the Indian Army, and you know better, you've commanded the corps, you've been there in various appointments from a second lieutenant to a lieutenant general. Why aren't such posts taken down now?
Gaurav, a lot of actions are taken. I can't discuss on the national television, but the fact of the matter is, appropriate action on the ground is taken by the troops on the line of control and the commanders on the ground. I leave it at that.
Sir, if these terrorists are infiltrating, for example, from North Kashmir, traveling all the way from North Kashmir, from Uri, Baramulla, down to Central Kashmir, Srinagar, Badgam, to South Kashmir, Anantnag, Kokarnag, Kulgam, there would be local elements supporting them. 2019 to 2023, sir, has Government of India, despite the use of army, police, income tax department, enforcement directorate, various other agencies, not been able to dry that pond so that these terrorists are not like fish in water?
Gaurav, this is a multi-pronged strategy which is working on ground and which is doing a good job. Not only the counter-infiltration grid of the line of control, the counter-infiltration grid, I am aware of it, is very strong, and infiltration is difficult. I will not say zero infiltration, that's a fallacy, but infiltration is difficult. That's why Pakistan is choosing alternate routes of infiltration, either from the international boundary through states of Punjab, Rajasthan, Gujarat, or through a third country.
I believe Nepal. That's what the army commander said recently.
Passport into a country and then walk into, because some country on the neighborhood, we have open borders.
Yes.
Or without visa or passport, you can enter India. And since the language and the faces appearance is similar, so it's easy to walk into Indian side. Now, having said this, we have had cases earlier where truckloads of terrorists and weapons and explosives who infiltrated from the international boundary were intercepted while they were being taken to Kashmir. So Pakistan is using all means to carry out the infiltration from the line of control, through the international boundary, and through the third countries. So they are using everything, and most importantly, they're using narco-terrorism. They're using the drug money, ill-gotten drug money, to support and fund this terrorist activity. You talked about the pressure being applied by the income tax government and income tax departments and other departments. Terror funding is the biggest concern, which has been curbed to a large extent in the last few years, but a lot more needs to be done.
Fair enough. Nepal was the country that Army Commander, mentioned very recently, that terrorists travel from Pakistan to Nepal, Pakistan to the Middle East to Nepal, and then infiltrate from there. And I wonder, how can government check that? What all needs to be done? Sir, there's another aspect. 2016, when Uri was targeted, India did a surgical strike. 2019, when you were co-commander, when Pulwama had happened, India did Balakot. But is one Uri or one Balakot enough to deter terror state Pakistan? Do we require more consistency in punishing Pakistan state-sponsored radical Islamist terror?
Gaurav, military options are always there. Military options of various scales. A local military option on the line of control within 2 kilometers, within 5 kilometers, within 10 kilometers, and beyond, using different assets of the military, all three wings are available and they are there. Well, its only thing is it's not only the military options which are available to India, we have multiple options. Diplomatic pressure, economic pressure, we have very strong political will as of today. So all these combinations can work. Indus Water Treaty abrogation is an option. The Gilgit-Baltistan people are crying to join up with India is an option. The situation on the Durand Line is an option. KPK is an option. Baluchistan freedom fighters fighting for freedom is an option. Sindh is an option. So there are multiple options using multiple means of government, multiple assets on the departments of the government in combination or in isolation. So anything can be done to deter Pakistan, and I am sure everything is being considered, and at the right of moment, the right option will be undertaken.
In your appreciation, a lot more needs to be done because, you know, perhaps when you were a younger officer, I'm sure you must have heard it from sections of our civil society or some elements in our system who would say that casualties are being kept at an acceptable level. Haven't we reached a stage now that India says we no longer want casualties at the hands of Pakistan state-sponsored radical Islamist terror? In case Pakistan tries to bleed India, we need to impose unbearable costs on Pakistan. Sir, is this only talk, or can this actually happen that we impose unbearable costs on Pakistan and repeatedly? Will that deter terror state Pakistan?
Absolutely. I answered in the previous question. All options, all available options with all departments of the government need to be worked upon in conjunction or in isolation, depending on what decision the government takes. The aim is to convey a message to Pakistan, like if I can say in Hindi, इस गेम को इतना महंगा कर दो कि वो ये गेम ही छोड़ दें. और एज आवर बिजनेसमैन पीपल से, धंधा इतना महंगा कर दो कि ये धंधा ही छोड़ दें. So it is the way you tackle Pakistan. We need to make them feel the pain. We need to make them bear the pain that it becomes unbearable.
And
There
does
is
this-
Saam, Dam, Dand, Bhed. Everything needs to be applied against this terror state.
Does this need to be only a government of India approach, or does this need to be the whole of India approach? Because government may strike Balakot, Indian Air Force fighter jets may strike Balakot, you may send your troops across for a surgical strike, but that's the cost that the nation is waging while you play cricket with Pakistan. I know no longer bilateral cricket, but multilateral cricket still happens. Their artists may come and there'll be lots of, jappi puppy stuff and people to people contact at a time when they're bleeding us. In your appreciation as someone who's been a part of this counter-terror operations for decades, does the whole of nation approach include no cricket while there is terror, no sporting ties, no cultural ties while there is terror?
Whenever a nation is hostile to a nation, now Pakistan is not a friend, Pakistan is a terror state, Pakistan is against India. That means Pakistan is against interest of each and every Indian citizen. It is not only that Pakistan is against Indian army or Pakistan is against Indian government. Each and every citizen of India is bleeding because of Pakistan terror. So it's the responsibility of each and every citizen, may it be Bollywood, may it be sports, may it be Aman Ki Asha type of people, may it be track 2, track 3 and all diplomacy. You cannot say कि मेरा तो ठीक ठाक है, फौजी मर रहा है border के ऊपर, is okay. Sorry, that's not the way a nationalist Indian citizen should look at it. A proud Indian should say, this country is causing casualties to our Kashmiri brethren. This country is causing casualties to our soldiers. We have got nothing to deal with this country. We will find someone else to give music in a song. We'll find someone else to play cricket with. We'll find someone else to sing songs. This is the way we need to deal with this country. Every citizen, comprehensive national power has to be applied against the enemy in which each and every citizen's contribution counts.
So that's a very, very important point that you're making, that contribution of every Bharatvasi is required to deal with terror state Pakistan, and it shouldn't just be a government of India approach dealing with terror state Pakistan. But there are many within a country who may be sleeping with the enemy, giving logistical support to terrorists, giving other kinds of support, intellectual cover fire to Pakistan state-sponsored radical Islamist terror. How do you deal with such elements? And we've been talking about it for decades. Is this perhaps time that if the nation says enough is enough and take action against those who provide logistical support, emotional support, intellectual support to Pakistan state-sponsored terror, sir?
Absolutely. There is an ecosystem existing in Kashmir, which comprises of Pakistan Army, Pakistan ISI, the terrorist organizations, the terrorists operating in Kashmir, the Hurriyat, which is now defunct in any case, the local politicians, the local NGOs, the local vernacular press, some religious people, and some opinion makers who are benefiting from the terror industry. That ecosystem felt most hurt on 5th of August 2019. There is a need to squeeze that ecosystem further. They were the ecosystem who were benefiting from terror.
Okay.
They were least bothered. A normal Kashmiri का बच्चा स्कूल जा रहा है नहीं जा रहा है, स्कूल में 280 दिन पढ़ाई नहीं हो रही है, they were least bothered. A normal Kashmiri boy picking up a gun and dying, they were least bothered. They were least bothered about the grief of the mother, either of an innocent Kashmiri or a terrorist Kashmiri who died in an encounter or died at the hands of Kashmiri
Yes.
terrorists. They were least bothered about any mother of Kashmir. Mother is a mother.
Absolutely.
Terrorist mother is also at grief because this ecosystem brought in the terrorism in Kashmir. So this ecosystem was benefiting in terms of funding, in terms of their dukandari, from all angles. अभी उनकी दुकान का शटर डाउन हो रहा है. We need to seal it, lock it, and बंद करो it.
I will let that be the last word on this part of the show. There is turmoil in Pakistan, and in the next several days, we'll talk about that turmoil in Pakistan. But still, that terror state continues to send terrorists into India. While those terrorists are neutralized, that's like pruning the leaves and branches of the tree of terror with roots in Pakistan. Perhaps time to strike at the roots again. For joining me here on this India Today special, Lieutenant General KJS Dhillon, former Kashmir Corps Commander, many thanks. Time now for us to slip into a quick break. News and updates continue on India Today. Stay with us.